Hey, what's up, YouTube fans? So, I made a video about this recently, but I wanted to talk about it more in depth on this video, right? So someone I was talking to on the internet recently was saying that we never observe mutations adding new genes. And I pointed out that we do actually observe mutations adding new genes. And I gave an example is gene duplication. And she said that that doesn't really count because it's just duplicating a gene that's already in there. And so not adding a totally new gene, but just duplicating something already in there. But see, the thing is, this is why I was pointing out, right, is that when you look at our body, right, you don't actually see any fundamentally distinct parts. You see the same parts used again and again and again and again. And the more fundamental you go, the more you see that this is the case, right? So look at our ribs, our teeth, our fingers, our toes, our limbs, our blood vessels, our muscles, etc., etc., our hair, our nails. You see the same parts used again and again and again and again, right? And the more fundamental you go, the more this is the case. So, I mean, not only do we have many ribs, but then our ribs are bones, right? We have many bones in general, right? And the genetic instructions for building bones did not have to be evolved from scratch for every single bone in the body, right? And the more fundamental you go, the more this is the case. So early, every single cell not every single, but almost every cell in the body has the same genetic instructions, right? So the cells in your hand have within them the instructions for how to build an eye, and the cells in your eyes, right, have within them the instructions for how to build hands, right? And in your early stages of development, there are special cells which have the ability to develop into any type of cell in the body. They could develop into a bone cell, a nerve cell, a blood cell, a skin cell, etc., etc. They could develop into any type of cell, but they don't start out as any of these specialized types of cells, right? But they have the ability to develop into any kind of cell, right? So the more fundamental you go, the more and more you see that we don't have any fundamentally distinct body parts. It's the same parts used again and again and again and specialized in differing ways, right? And when we study the development of these differing parts, we find that the same embryonic structures give rise to multiple differing organs within the body, right? So, for example, the embryonic gut tube, right, when it first forms, it's just a tube without any specialized organs, right? And only later into development do differing regions of it specialize, eventually giving rise not only to all of the regions of the digestive tract, but also to the trachea, bronchi, and lungs, right? So the trachea, bronchi, and lungs share a common developmental origin with the organs of the digestive tract, and all of the organs of the digestive tract share a common developmental origin, all derived from a single embryonic structure, the embryonic gut tube, right, which simply regions of it specialize into these differing organs, all derived from one embryonic structure, right? And then also the anus and the urogenital holes share a common developmental origin, right? We start out having a cloaca, right? much like what many groups of animals have post-embryonic development, we start out having a cloaca, and only later does this single hole called a cloaca divide into separate holes, giving us both the anus and the urogenital holes, right? Which for males, there's no further division of the urogenital holes, but for females, there's a further division into two separate holes for them, the urethra and the vagina. But all of these share a common developmental origin. Also, while we're on that topic, the male and female sex organs start out the same embryologically. They start out indistinguishable. They only further into development specialize and develop differently, right? But we know that we know which parts of the male reproductive organs correlate to the female reproductive organs developmentally, right? The penis correlates to the clitoris developmentally. The testes correlate to the ovaries developmentally, right? And so this is also what's interesting. So during embryonic development, we start out having what's called pharyngeal arches and pharyngeal slits. Fish start out having the same things, but in them, part of what it develops into is their gills and gill structures, right? Whereas in us, it develops into totally different structures, like parts of our jaws and ear, right? And so we actually know based on this that certain parts of our body correlate developmentally to a fish's gills and gill structures, even though when it's fully developed, it's totally different superficially, but developmentally, it shares a common developmental origin from the same embryonic structures, right? And so the more you go, the deeper you go in our body, the more and more you see that we really don't have any fundamentally distinct parts. All of our body parts, none of them are fundamentally distinct. Fundamentally, it's all the same. It's all using the same fundamental parts, just specialized in differing ways, used again and again and again, right? And so to say, like with gene duplication, like, oh, well, that doesn't count because it's just using something that's already in there. You realize that when we look at our body, right, we really don't see any fundamentally distinct parts. We see the same parts used again and again and again and specialized in different ways, right? All right. That's all for now. See you guys.